Welcome to the deep dive. We're looking at a really interesting situation in the Philippines today, specifically around the office of the Ombudsman.
Yeah, the Tanod Bayan, they call it. Protector of the people.
Exactly, and it's this constitutionally mandated, very independent body.
Super independent. Fixed 7-year term for the head, non-renewable, and getting rid of them only through impeachment. So very high bar.
But the big story isn't the office itself changing, it's the new person in charge, Jesus Crispin Remulla. And apparently his appointment has, well, a lot of potentially corrupt officials quite nervous.
That's the core of it. The law hasn't changed, the institution is the same, but the person changes everything.
So our mission here is to unpack why. Why is this one appointment causing so much apprehension? Let's start with the Ombudsman's powers. It's a arsenal, so to speak.
Okay. Well, these powers are pretty formidable, even if they haven't always been, let's say, fully utilized. They're laid out in law, RA 6770.
And crucially, the Ombudsman has primary jurisdiction, right, over cases meant for the setting and begun.
Yes, the anti-graft court. So they don't just, investigate and pass it on. They investigate and prosecute these specific corruption cases. They hold the reins.
And the investigative tools themselves. Pretty sharp teeth there. Subpoenas, obviously, but also the power to look into bank accounts.
That's a big one. The authority to examine and access bank accounts and records.
Yeah.
If you want to follow the money in corruption cases, well, that's how you do it.
Then there's the administrative side. This preventive suspension thing sounds pretty potent.
Oh, it is. If the evidence against an official looks strong, the ombudsman can suspend them without pay for up to 6 months while the investigation happens.
Wow, okay, so that basically sidelines them completely, stops them interfering.
Exactly. Stops potential tampering with evidence, intimidating witnesses, that sort of thing. It's a powerful lever.
All right, so that's the arsenal. Now, let's talk about Remulla, the person holding it. He's described as an insider, a poacher turned gamekeeper.
Yeah, that phrase keeps coming up. And it fits. I mean, look at his background. Legislator, provincial governor, and just before this, Secretary of Justice. He's been in the system.
So unlike maybe some predecessors from the judiciary or academia, he has this operational intelligence.
Precisely. He knows the playbook. He knows how budgets get manipulated, how government contracts are steered. He's even publicly said many contracts are fraught with illegality. He knows where the bodies are buried, potentially.
That insider knowledge must be terrifying for anyone with something to hide. But, couldn't that cut both ways? People might worry he knows how to protect insiders, too.
That's a fair point. And that's where his initial policy pronouncements become so important. It seems like he's leaning into transparency, maybe to counter that skepticism.
You mean contrasting with the previous ombudsman, Martires, the so-called age of opacity?
Exactly. Under Martires, there was the really controversial rule change in 2020 about SANs.
Right, the statements of assets, liabilities, and net worth. Access became incredibly restricted.
Severely restricted. You basically needed a notarized letter from the official themselves to get access to their SAR.
Which sounds counterintuitive for an accountability document, like asking the suspect for permission to investigate them.
Pretty much, yeah. It effectively gave officials a veto over public scrutiny of their declared wealth.
And Remulla has said
He immediately pledged to reverse that, to scrap that restrictive SAN policy. And, importantly, he also committed to reviving lifestyle checks.
Okay, that's huge. Reversing this ALN rule basically rearms journalists, civil society groups, anyone trying to hold officials accountable.
It creates this massive multiplier effect for scrutiny. Suddenly, it's not just the ombudsman's investigators, it's potentially thousands of eyes looking at those documents.
And there's another layer here, isn't there? His immediate past role at the Department of Justice.
Yes. While he was Secretary of Justice, he was already leading investigations into major corruption allegations, specifically those multi-billion peso flood control projects.
So the person leading the initial probe at DOJ now commands the main anti-corruption prosecuting body, the Ombudsman.
Right, it's this convergence. Yeah. The lead investigator now has the primary jurisdiction, and all those ombudsman powers we talked about focused on issues the administration itself flagged as priorities.
Which brings us to the political climate. All this power, this potential for investigation. It lands in a period of pretty high political tension, doesn't it?
Absolutely. The rivalry between, say, the Marcos and Duterte camps is escalating, and that adds another dimension.
So the fear isn't just that Remulla can investigate, but the perception that he might use these powerful tools selectively against political rivals.
That perception becomes potent. Whether he acts impartially or not, the credible threat that this arsenal could be weaponized politically makes everyone nervous, especially anyone, with skeletons in their closet, regardless of political alignment.
It makes the threat feel much more immediate, more acute.
So you've got this perfect storm brewing. The Ombudsman's inherent legal power, Remulla's deep insider knowledge, his policy shift back towards transparency, and this charged political context.
It really does explain the widespread anxiety.
Definitely.
So, the provocative thought for you, the listener, is this. What happens when someone who knows exactly how the system can be cheated is put in charge of policing it? Does that intimate knowledge lead to genuine, deep reform? Or does the power just get aimed in a new, perhaps more political direction? That's the situation to watch.
A fascinating question indeed.
We hope this deep dive leaves you feeling better informed. Until next time.